Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Football continues, the World Series is around the corner, and they have dropped the puck on a new NHL season. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Made for Canadians, by Canadians, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 and over. Please play responsibly. Let's get to the Battle of Ontario. That also looked like a pretty good game from what I was able to watch between Toronto and Ottawa. But a big story out of there, Matt Murray being injured, not in that game necessarily, but a lot to go through in Leafland, as it always happens to be the case.
Yeah, I feel for Matt Murray. On a personal level, the guy's, obviously trying to get his career back on track. Injuries have been the story of his last couple seasons in Ottawa. He just was never healthy enough to play well over a period of time. He plays one game in Toronto and then gets, leaves a morning skate before Saturday's game injured. And it's an adductor injury that's going to be out at least 4 weeks. So, could be even longer. Not the ideal way to start, actually a little bit of shades of Peter Mrazek from last season. It was almost the same circumstances. Now, Peter Mrazek injured his groin in a game, but it was either his first or second start of the season. It was mid-October, and his season ended up being a total write-off. He just never got in any shape to string together some good play. I think short term, it's not the end of the world for the Leafs. Ilya Samsonov has played well in his 2 starts, won both games that he's started to this point. It does now allow them some salary cap flexibility, and we saw them recall Nick Robertson, Victor Mete, and Wayne Simmons, which I think is a positive because they've been carrying the bare minimum roster, to that point. But for Matt Murray, it's just an ominous start. It doesn't mean, look, goalies do have groin injuries. It's not totally unusual. Maybe he comes back healthy and everything's fine. But after going through a long training camp, playing every minute of the preseason they asked of him, being healthy, to have this injury right at the start of the season, I think is a tough setback for him on a personal level.
It's a risk that the Leafs also decide to run too. This is not someone with the greatest injury history over the last few years. It's something that was a risk when Kyle Dubas decided to take him on.
Big risk. I mean, the issue actually with Matt Murray, if you're being honest, is he actually had some stretches in Ottawa where he put up good numbers too. It's not there was. You could look at that situation from 2 different ways. You could look at it and be like, man, if we can get him healthy and playing, maybe there's still something in there, right? And then the other one is you can't get him healthy and playing. And so that was the crux of the decision, essentially. And you've unfortunately now seen the downside of it. Now he's still got the rest of the season and next under contract. Maybe we don't know. Like, this is the great thing. We're watching this play out in real time. We don't know how this movie ends. I think a lot of people probably assume they know how it ends in Ottawa. They're like, yeah, of course, he just never is healthy. I mean, DJ Smith actually had given a quote on Friday before his injury was revealed to reporters, and he just said, like, nothing against Matt, but he just was never healthy, or we never got a chance to see it. And then literally he's on the ice for like 10 minutes the next morning and has to pull himself off, and he has this issue. So, yeah, I don't know what will become of this, but it was a big risk. And the beautiful thing, I guess, and this is very small sample sizes, but the fact that Samsonov has played well, just let in 2 goals in each of his starts, it's made it less of a total smoking building, because, if he plays well, and that was part of the risk too, or the gamble too, right? Here's a former first round pick. His career is sort of sliding in the other direction, but he's only 25. I mean, it's not crazy to think that he's going to put together a stretch of good hockey, but there's always something to watch in Toronto, man. I mean, whatever it is, feels like there's some calamity waiting around each corner.
So the Leafs for the foreseeable future will have to rely on Ilya Samsonov and Eric Källgren to some degree.
I would think so. And Källgren played games last year. He's backing up now. They actually don't have another option. So, there are other goaltenders under contract. One is in Sweden. The other is injured in addition to Matt Murray. So they don't, I mean, it's Källgren and Samsonov for the time being. I suppose if they incur another injury, maybe we're talking about a trade of some sort or a waiver claim down the road. But I would think Samsonov will play the majority of the next month, especially if he keeps playing well. And maybe a good story comes out of this, or, it gives him a chance to play more than he would have, because if you look back at the training camp, even the way the season started, it was, even though it's a platoon, it was definitely geared towards Matt Murray being the number one. But now Samsonov is gonna obviously has free runway to play more games, but he's also won his 2 starts, and maybe he ends up being the guy who carries the ball for the Leafs.
We'll see.